you at all?
No, it's not going to frighten me. It shouldn't frighten anyone in Canada. What he should be focusing on getting a deal done. We're their number one customer. They're our number one customer. There isn't a governor, Republican or Democrat, senator or congressperson that doesn't agree. You can't unscramble an egg that's been around and integrated for decades. You got to make the omelet larger. And that's what we're going to do. But I'm not going to worry about President Trump. I'm going to worry about what we can do, how we can diversify our trade. Let's not be so reliant on one country. If there was one thing, only one thing, President Trump has done good for Canada, he woke us up. He woke us up and he's united us. So that's the best thing President Trump could have ever done. And we're going to go full steam. But yeah, I had an opportunity to think over the holiday season, and I'm thinking, where were we last year compared to this year? Last year, we had President Trump just got elected, getting sworn in, put a full attack on our country, on our province, and we had no federal government. So compared to now, we had uncertainty, and we were out there saying, oh, Canada's great, and this is a reason you should make a trade deal, and we didn't know the rules. Well, we learned the rules with President Trump. There are no rules with President Trump. So as we move forward throughout the year, and as we move forward for this year, we're going to focus on what we can do to continue to thrive and prosper, how we can work collaboratively with all the provincial governments and the federal government as well. I can feel it. I can really feel it out there that we're going to have a very positive 2026. But that's without saying that there's going to be bumps, but we're going to get through them.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford launched a full-scale counteroffensive against the White House by running television ads across American border states and by threatening to cut energy exports. The campaign drew immediate condemnation from the Trump administration and forced trade negotiations to be suspended. Washington was caught off guard by a provincial leader wielding this level of influence. Trump threatened steep tariffs on Canadian imports shortly after taking office in January 2025, and he has been increasing tariffs every second day since then. The proposed levies targeted steel, aluminum, and other Canadian products entering the United States. Ford responded by launching an aggressive diplomatic and media campaign designed to shift American public opinion against the protectionist measures. He purchased airtime on U.S. television networks to run advertisements featuring the words of former President of the United States Ronald Reagan opposing tariffs. The ads played in key border states where Canadian trade matters most to local economies. Ford's strategy aimed to pressure Washington from within by turning American voters and American businesses against Trump's tariff plans. The White House reacted with sharp criticism, calling Ford's media campaign inappropriate interference in U.S. domestic politics. Trump officials labeled the advertisements as overstepping the boundaries of normal diplomatic engagement between allies. Ford escalated the confrontation by threatening retaliatory measures against American interests. He proposed implementing a surcharge on energy exports from Ontario to U.S. border states. The threat carried significant weight because Ontario supplies substantial amounts of electricity to neighboring American states. Trump administration officials called Ford's energy threat insulting and responded with warnings of even steeper tariffs on Canadian goods. The standoff led to a breakdown in trade talks between Canada and the United States. According to City News, Ottawa negotiations between the two countries were making progress before Ford's advertising campaign triggered the White House backlash. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney later stated that Canada and the U.S. were close to a deal when Trump ended trade talks. PBS NewsHour reported that the Trump administration demanded Ford pull the Reagan advertisements before trade negotiations could resume. The dispute highlighted how a provincial premier could influence international trade dynamics between two nations. Ford's actions demonstrated that subnational leaders hold power to complicate federal-level negotiations when economic interests are at stake. Trade analysts noted that Ford's media strategy successfully brought the U.S.-Canada trade dispute into American public view. The campaign forced Washington policymakers to address domestic criticism of Trump's tariff plans from business groups and consumers in border states. Ontario's economy depends heavily on cross-border trade, with automotive manufacturing and steel production particularly vulnerable to U.S. tariffs. The conflict exposed broader tensions in U.S.-Canada economic relations under Trump's second presidency. Canada is the largest trading partner of the United States, with bilateral trade exceeding $700 billion annually. Tariffs on Canadian imports would affect supply chains across multiple industries, including automotive, steel, aluminum, and energy sectors. Ford's approach marked a departure from traditional diplomatic protocols where provincial leaders defer to federal governments on international trade matters. His willingness to engage directly with American media and to threaten countermeasures showed that subnational actors could shape outcomes in major trade disputes. Washington had not anticipated this level of pushback from a provincial premier. The Trump administration's response suggested it was unprepared for Canada's counter-pressure tactics. White House officials expected negotiations to occur solely between federal governments, not through public campaigns targeting American voters. Ford's strategy complicated Trump's ability to present tariffs as beneficial to American workers without facing domestic opposition. The suspended trade talks left uncertainty over the future of U.S.-Canada economic relations. Both countries faced potential disruptions to industries that depend on integrated supply chains. Ford's energy export threat raised concerns about the reliability of cross-border electricity supplies during peak demand periods. According to PBS NewsHour, Ford indicated a willingness to remove the advertisements if it meant resuming trade negotiations. However, the damage to diplomatic relations between Ottawa and Washington had already occurred. The incident demonstrated that Trump's second term would face challenges from unexpected sources when implementing protectionist trade policies. The Ford-Trump confrontation showed that provincial leaders possess tools to influence international disputes when their regional economies face threats. Ontario's economic size and its integration with American markets gave Ford leverage that Washington could not easily dismiss. The trade standoff continues to shape U.S.-Canada relations as both sides assess their next steps.